good morning, and welcome to the Gribley's Folly Community Garden, Massage Parlor, and Cryogenic Preservation Facility. It is so cold in here right now, I could freeze your dead ass and we could dig you up in 100 years when technology is able to save you. Today is going to be my Sunday social hour, where I respond to your comments and generally just talk about life and ramble on. Except it's actually Saturday, but it's going to be so cold tomorrow. Son of a bitch. It's going to be so cold tomorrow that I am not going to want to get out of bed except to play Minecraft. So I'm going to go ahead and start responding to your comments a day early. On my Prince Albert video of yore, and if you don't want to go back and watch it, let me just sum up. Prince Albert sucks. It's terrible tobacco. Fred Klaus commented, I have smoked some high-end blends in my day that I could give the same description to. Hang on me. Yep. Actually, too many to name. It's all personal preference. What you call crap, someone else might prefer. You kind of sound like what I like to call a tobacco snob. If it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, it tastes like crap. It was good enough for our grandfathers, but not good enough for me attitude. Sounds like an opinion of entitlement to me. Pretty sad opinion. Fred. You know this stuff is supposed to be fun, right? On that note, I am currently smoking Esoterica's Margate, which tastes like a Macedonian hooker. And I actually quite enjoy it. It's a little too mild for me. But I have, I started with a whole tin and I've got this left. I'm smoking through the rest of it before I move on to something else. And yes, Esoterica is a tobacco snob's tobacco, But let me remind those of you who might accuse me of tobacco snobbery. Well, yeah. Isn't that the whole point of being like, yeah, of course. If you're an enthusiast, you're going to be like, you like Prince Albert. Great. You're wrong. You're totally wrong. But that's fine. If you like it, smoke it. I smoke drugstore blends. I love Captain Black Royal. I'm smoking a damn corncob pipe. I am not an elitist entitled. What exactly would I be entitled to? And my grandfather didn't even smoke a pipe. Fred also comments on my Carter Hall definitive review. More accurate than all other reviews of Carter Hall ever. Carter Hall is sweet goop in a bag. I would rather smoke Prince Albert. Well, I think you established that. Thank you. Good for you. Does it hurt to be that wrong? And then we got Mr. Tant. Mr. Tant, who apparently sits around refreshing my channel, waiting for me to make a mistake, started throwing in his facts at me. Fact checker Tant. He said something. It's totally his fault. Anyway, Timber Drifter commented, are there still preppers? I thought that had gone out of style now that everything is going to work out just fine. I heard it was going to be tremendous or something. Yeah. There were a lot of prepping channels early this time last year making videos about, do we really need to keep prepping now that Donald Trump is in office? I think we do. If you think that preparedness is dependent upon party, like the administration, like you really think there's going to be no catastrophes under the Trump administration because he's a Republican, nominally a Republican, Manhattan liberal Republican, then I would remind you that 9/11 happened under Bush, and we're not going to talk about this anymore. Sorry, no. So also on my prepping video, Matthew Gilman commented, because I was making the joke about how I felt some stigma coming out as a prepper. I thought he was going to say he tinkered in some liberal socialism back in the day, scared the shit out of me. Matthew, I hope that by this time, anyone watching me, though I no longer discuss politics in a partisan way, I hope that anyone could kind of get a little bit of a gist of what my politics were when I had politics. And I would actually say that if you want to accuse me of being a liberal socialist, I'm way more of that now than I ever was back in the day. Because now I just don't care. You want single payer health care? Fine, whatever. You want, free abortions for Everybody, even the men, fine, whatever. I don't care. Do it. Whatever. I'll be in the woods. See you later. If you guys think that we actually have some agency in government, why prep at all? That's my question. If you think the government is actually there to help you, what are you doing? What are you doing? So, Jason Hasselbacher, I hope I'm saying that right, says, I'm a very avid prepper, been subbed for a while, excited to see where your channel is going. Great video, you nailed it on the head. Somebody else commented, let's see, who was it? We'll get to it. Thank you, Jason. And Pipes Etc. commented, of all the YT prepper channels, why did you pick Morgan's? I like her tattoos. Because Morgan is incorporating things like physical fitness and meditation into prepping. Morgan is taking things in a different direction than the usual, my gun is bigger than yours, prepper shit, frankly. The other thing is that there's a family aspect to it that I really enjoy. I think that Morgan is like Prepper 2.0. She's if you want to actually that's not correct to say, because if maybe 3.0. Prepping as a return to values rather than prepping as stockpiling shit. Beerbeard says, God, it all seems so complicated. Here in the UK, prepping amounts to making sure you have a good supply of clean underwear, a few extra tins of Heinz cream of tomato in the kitchen, and a baseball bat under the bed. Yes, okay, that is very interesting to me. Is it that you guys don't worry about, is it that you don't have catastrophes? You don't worry about the catastrophes. If you don't worry about catastrophes, why don't you worry about catastrophes? I was just reading something about American societal breakdown and how, I don't even want to get into all of it, but do you feel as a Brit that, is that like a derogatory term? Do you feel as a subject of the Queen, that, you're immune from the kinds of things that we Americans feel we should prep for? Because I know that the UK actually has an active prepper community, and I prefer to watch their videos rather than American preppers because they're not all about guns, because they can't have guns because they're in the UK. So enlighten us, please, to the extent that you would like. What is the difference here? Why do you think that I feel the need to do this and you guys don't? I'm not asking you to argue with me. I'm asking, I'm generally curious. Okay, the comment was from Wharf Valley Boy. Prepping for everyday possibilities is something that interests me greatly. Prepping for doomsday, not so much. Right. It's doomsday. You're not supposed to survive it. That's why they call it doomsday. Dave of the North always thought 22 was a good way to go. Cheap, available ammo, easy to keep around, deadly with proper aim. You know, I don't put so much stock in 22 being deadly. I put more stock in me not needing to kill anyone. That's my goal. But yeah, I mean, I think, I wouldn't want to be shot at with a 1022 and a 25 round mag by someone with my level of skill. Not that my skill is all that great, but okay. Fireplug. What about prepping for the Pop-Tart apocalypse? Yeah, that's a good, I'm going to have to look up, I wonder what a pallet of brown sugar Pop-Tarts costs. Kirk Maxon from Florida, a disabled vet. Kirk, I cannot quite make out what you are trying to say. It looks like you're trying to send me tobacco. And I pretty much never turn down tobacco. So let me know. John Waxaroni. Hey there, Mr. Gribbly. Oh, we're going to save that one for last. I remember that one. Durban Poison, there is a legal herb. Anytime somebody starts out with there is a legal herb, I'm only interested in illegal herbs. So Durban is going on about an herb called kratom. I guess that really sounds like something Superman wouldn't like. It says there's a big problem with big pharma and trying to ban it, and the FDA is going to get in there, and this stuff is a miracle plant. I don't know anything about that. I it would not surprise me that there were a miracle plant. I mean, we're all smoking tobacco. That there were. It would not surprise me if there were a miracle plant. We're all smoking tobacco here, and that's pretty miraculous. And it would not surprise me if the FDA was trying to regulate it. John Waxaroni, a friend of ours, he left me a comment that I'm pretty sure is making fun of me, but I'm going to take it seriously. And this is it's about 10 this is on par. We're just going to go off into the weeds here. He says, scroll. Ooh, what's that? Oh, never mind. Hey there, Mr. Gribbly. Come on. Hey, no, hang on. Hey there, Mr. Gribbly. Sitting here smoking frog on a log, sipping sake, a thought came to mind. Basically, the psychological explanation is due. This is on my video about aliens, right? Was it aliens? The psychological explanation is due to the internal fact that 3.14 can be determined in one's subconscious mind. I think he's talking about pi. I like pi. Thus, releasing microprobes of electronic charges that turn nothing into something. I see where you're going, John. Knowing this, we deduce that reality is just an illusion, and the ability to transcend multiple dimensions is fact. This, and this alone, might explain the sightings of such things as UFOs, Sasquatches, and other odd Thomases that keep cropping up between what we have been taught to be true and what we believe. What is your take on interdimensional travel? Well, John, I'm pretty sure you're making fun of me, but let's assume for a second that you're not. I think it is fairly self-explanatory that reality is an illusion, right? We can't even agree on what reality is, meaning in a very literal sense, like, look at people that argue about whether Donald Trump is a criminal or Hillary Clinton, where people argue about both of these people. And I use this as an example because it keeps talking too fast because we're talking about aliens again. Look at the disagreements and the possibilities for disagreement that we have in modern society. Clearly, we're not all in the same reality, and I mean that literally. I think that reality is a construct of our awareness, and I don't really think that's all that arguable. And I argued the other side of that from basically the time my teen years until recently, and argued with some very smart people. And I'll never forget, there was this one dinner that I went to because I was the minister's kid, right? And I had to go to this dinner at some fancy schmancy church person's house. And he was like a retired physicist. And I was like, so what do you think about whether reality is real or not? And my dad gave me this look like, oh God, you're not going to bring this up with the church people. And the physicist was like, that's a really good question. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I was just trying to piss off my parents. No, reality is not real. And you'll find this in basically every religious tradition and in modern science. There's nothing real about reality. And the question is, what do we do with that? Because practically, we construct reality so that we can, make it through our day. But then there's going to be things that don't fit. I hesitate to speak further with tobacco in my mouth. Hang on. I see why some people smoke filters in these pipes. Anyway, I hesitate to speak further on this because it's just going to make me sound crazy. Because what we're talking about here are things that we can't understand. Like, by definition, the things that are meta reality, we can't understand them. So what I would like to say, though, is I think that when we talk about UFOs and Sasquatches and saber-toothed log poopers and whether or not there are government conspiracies and yada, 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 when we talk about these things, it seems like an Occam's razor kind of thing. Like, it seems a simple answer to me to say there are things that happen outside of our ability to understand, and sometimes we bump up against them in our lives. And I have read research that I won't really call scholarly, but I've read some commentary. How about that? Because I was seriously into UFOs when I was growing up. I never actually really believed in them. Because you guys have heard me talk about my UFO experience, my very lackluster UFO experience. But I had a UFO encyclopedia, and I really loved the history of the UFO thing and all the government intrigue and cloak and dagger stuff. I love it. But are they actually people from other galaxies? Probably not. All reason says that the distances involved make it that impossible. I'm currently reading a book by John Keel that talks about that and says, what other explanations are there? And UFOs, flying saucers, really only became a thing in the late 40s. And prior to that, we had fairies and werewolves and vampires and demons and angels. What if it's all kind of the same thing? And what if that thing is, whether intelligently or not, just some sort of aberration in a part of reality that we aren't really able to interface with, and sometimes we bump up against it and witness it? I think that's probably that's the simplest answer I can think of. I would love to say that it's nothing. The skeptic in me would love to say all that shit is just interdimensional travel, no, whatever. But I think that we've come this long as a species with weird things, right, in our lives, and even modern science isn't really able to cut it out. Hence the $22 million program in the Pentagon that we only just learned about recently. So I don't know, but I think you're on the right track. Thank you all for watching. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.